No matter how much people want to try to erase our history, ban our books, pull the imagery of our national treasures off of websites, the truth is the truth. We are here today as Americans because of this extraordinary legacy, this rainbow coalition of people who made a way out of no way. We are going to continue to go all around the country, especially those places that don't see enough National Democrats coming through and supporting them. We need more Americans to hear from more Americans and understand that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. We have to find a way to deal with the worst form of poverty in America, which is not material poverty, it is a poverty of empathy, a poverty of understanding, a poverty of compassion, and a poverty of love. We are all bound up in one single common destiny, that we are connected, and that your suffering or your struggle or your voice can help to liberate me and my struggles, whether it's the preservation of Medicaid, whether it's the preservation of support and funding for violence intervention programs, whether it is support and funding for public education and education of our beautiful children that might have disabilities. And when I stand and fight for those things, I'm not just fighting for New Jersey's 9 million people, I'm fighting for issues around our nation. And I find myself often when I'm in states like this to let you all know that you have people that are standing and fighting for you as well as the people that you actually represent. We are in a storm right now. I never imagined that people would be disappeared off of our streets. I never thought that we would have a nation that if you say something that I don't like, you're out of this nation. We are in a nation right now that we are attacking the goose that lays the golden egg, scientific research, attacking our universities, research in the sciences, research in healthcare. We are attacking the programs that feed our children. We are attacking the programs that protect our elders. We're attacking the services that serve our veterans. We are in a time that this is not normal. He's been in our office for 3 months. Prices on people have gone up. Inflation has gone up. Groceries have gone up. Stroller costs have gone up. And yet he has made $3 billion while in office by creating a meme coin, a digital asset, for people from other countries to deposit into. We are not in normal times. I wish I could tell you that I went and did that stand on the floor because of my own motivation. No, I had constituents throughout my state. I had friends of mine. I had family members of mine. I had folks I would meet out and about that said to me, you are not doing enough. That said that you have got to take more risks. So the folks that were calling me to task remind me of the truth. We did not get suffrage in America because a bunch of men came to the Senate floor in 1920 and said, hey, fellas, put it in here. Right to vote on free, 1, 2, 3, break. That's not how it happened. We didn't get civil rights. Because one day Strom Thurmond came to the Senate floor and said, I see the line. Let those Negro people have the right to vote. That's not how it happened. Change does not come from Washington, it comes to Washington by people who demand that it happens. So this is an extinction level event for healthcare in our country in terms of the impact it could have on upwards of over 100 million Americans. Medicaid is how we pay for most of the births of children in our country. It helps our seniors who are living in nursing homes. It helps so many children with disabilities and the parents who are struggling to hold it all together. So this is absolutely unacceptable. Now, how do we save it again? This is going to be the theme of the night. We save the Affordable Care Act by getting 3 senators to change their votes. Remember, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and John McCain famously that way. And I would love to tell you all that it was my eloquence and my persuasive power that convinced those 3 senators to change their hearts and minds on this issue, but it was not. It was you. It was people in red states and purple counties and blue states all pressing their representatives with the truth. So this is the tension of the moment. How do we stop that bill? And already there's some cracks that are showing by some Republican Congress people saying, wait a minute,
that would actually take more money out of my state and cause real harm to the people. But right now, overall, in the Republican Party, I can see more people that fear Donald Trump than fear their own constituents. Wow. And we have to change that. It is not about keeping us safe. If it was just about that, they would be doing what they said they were going to do, getting dangerous people off of our streets. I'm in favor of getting dangerous people off of our streets, whether they're immigrants or non-immigrants. We all support that. But there is a demonization going on of the people who have come here that during the pandemic we were calling essential workers, and now suddenly we're demonizing them and saying they're the reason they're a threat to our country. We need to have immigration enforcement that is not violating the fundamental rights of this nation like due process. Sometimes we have to bang our head against a wall or pound on a door for many times before it opens. So please be relentless. Make it sort of like a whatever ritual, weekly ritual or a daily ritual to continue to press it, because that is the job. And we know most of the movements, from the suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, to the labor movement. I can tell you how many times legislation was brought up and failed, or how many times it took to change someone's mind until you get a Margaret Chase Smith from the Republican Party going to the floor and giving a speech against McCarthyism. Medicaid we talked about, but remember, they are already slashing research, science and research services in the Department of Health and Human Services, already taking money that Congress approved in a bipartisan way in the last budget for the health and well-being of people. They're pulling it back. Everything from autism research to research on certain cancers. Again, violating the law. The president does not have the ability to unilaterally impound money that has been approved by Congress. The president also does not have the power to tear down entire agencies that were established by Congress. It's just illegal. You cannot do that. Our system, our Constitution was designed for checks and balances. If Congress is just laying down and not holding one hearing to investigate, we have an entire committee called Health, Education, Labor, and Pension. If the Education Committee is not even holding hearings, then they're just laying down. Now, we're not taking that. We've already filed a whole bunch of lawsuits. There's been between 250 and 300 lawsuits already filed by state AGs, by local leaders. Thank you, Mayor. You guys have a great mayor, and others, to try to stop them in the courts. But we also know that the history of our country, sometimes you can win on the court, Brown versus Board of Education, and they're still going to resist you in communities. Leadership is not a position or a title. It's action and example. I said this earlier from up there, that the Democratic Party has not always gotten it right and has made mistakes. I mean, it makes me scratch my head why we have a nation where the policies I'm fighting for in Washington would most help certain communities, make those communities vote overwhelmingly against us. And then for me as a leader to turn around and say that's their problem, and not accept responsibility and say, wait a minute, maybe that's my problem. Maybe I need to do more to earn the title of a leader. For us to be bogged down solely in partisan politics is missing the larger point. There are so many people that are hurting right now, that are losing their faith in both parties. But ultimately, this is not about parties. This is about people. And if we as the Democratic Party get more people engaged that are focused on the people and not the party, then that's how we start to win. We are sliding quickly towards a really dystopic future. The disparities in income in our nation are stunning. We've created tax systems and other incentives that are helping rich people get richer and richer and richer. And by the way, I don't hate success. I want somebody who has an inventive idea, or somebody who works all 24/7 on their business. I want them to be wildly successful. But now we've gotten to a point in our country where we're seeing more and more billionaires, yet half of our country now, more than half of our country, can't have a car accident or take a $600 hit to their budget without having to go into debt. And often that debt then spirals because they don't get what the billionaires get when they borrow. They get usury rates. We have a system that is more and more rigged against the people. Citizens United decision is a great example of a system being rigged. It really is. It has allowed unconscionable amounts of money from corporations which are not just Americans. When corporate America makes investments, remember that people around the world own pieces of our stock market. So they're using money of other nations, people, to come to our elections and so drown out the voices of average Americans. And so suddenly you have politicians that are more going to answer the call of the millionaires and billionaires on their policies than the people that are struggling. I could point out the absurdities in our tax code that make it so that a teacher or a firefighter or a laborer are paying higher taxes than somebody who is a financier on Wall Street. And yet we say we don't have enough money in our government to pay for a disabled child or a school lunch program. We're the wealthiest nation in the world, yet most families are struggling with stresses that are new. There are things in this world right now that are being normalized that are absurd. Frederick Douglass said, the limits of tyranny are prescribed by the endurance of the people who are oppressed. How much are we going to endure before we say enough of this? I promise you, a tax system that has child tax credits, that gets rid of things like carried interest, I promise you, that's not going to stop the wealthiest in our country from having extraordinary lives of privilege. It's not going to stop that. But what it will do is take families that are struggling, that are stressed, that are hurting right now, and give them the kind of financial security and foundation that will set a situation that their children will be better able to reach for their genius that will make us all more wealthy. We have to begin to think of ourselves as a society that can create, as King said, the beloved community, where we can create a society of flourishing, where we love one another, where we have a tax code that reflects our values, not the wills and interests of those who lobby the hardest in Washington. We can elect people that really are committed to us, and not people who should have, like a NASCAR, have who's sponsoring them on their jackets. How dare we put our hands on our hearts and swear an oath of liberty and justice for all? How are those empty words if we're not trying to live them and fight for them and make it happen? And so many children are dying in this country, gunshot wound after gunshot wound, and they don't even make the newspaper at all. We just normalize it. How could we have gotten to a point even in our schools where we give our children this subtle reminder, we cannot protect you, so we're going to teach you how to hide? How can we have become the strongest nation in the world but show that kind of weakness or lack of conviction? I think these two words are what sustained the generations of Americans who went through such darkness. Immigrants who were told that no Irish or dogs need apply. They were workers who watched their co-workers burn in the shirtwaist factory fire. They were Americans who loved this country, but they were put in internment camps just because they had Japanese descent. These were Americans who never gave up, even though they were called the most vile racial epithets. They were Americans that never, ever gave up. Stay faithful. Stay faithful. Stay faithful. I tell you, my brothers and sisters from this great state with such incredible history in this hallowed place, now more than ever, this nation needs your faith. It needs you not to give up. I know you may be hurting. I know you may be weary. I know you may be worried. I know you may be angry, but stay faithful and remember that faith without works is dead. That this nation needs your light in this darkness. It needs your torch at the top of a hill. We are in a storm, but I know the storm is here now, but it will not last forever. This is not the end of our story. Better days are coming. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh